Good afternoon. The meeting of the House Committee of General Laws will now come to order, and the members will answer the roll call by recording their attendance on electronic voting machine. We have a quorum. It's present 20 members here. The two members that are not here, they have notified me and they have our permission to miss the meeting. Before we start, as this is the very first meeting of the 2026 session, I just wanted to welcome everybody and let all of the delegates introduce themselves and tell us what district they're representing and maybe a little 10 or 20 seconds about why they're happy to be on this committee. We'll start down. Where do we want to start? Let's start with Marcus Simon.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Marcus Simon. I represent the 13th House of Delegates District, which is the Falls Church and Falls Church areas of Fairfax County. My day job is as a real estate attorney, so I very much enjoy working on the housing subcommittee. Hope to be able to continue that work going forward. And yeah, I've really enjoyed being on House General Laws. And I think congratulations, by the way, since I get to go first, Mr. Chairman. I know you've been on this committee a long time. I've admired your work on the ABC Gaming Subcommittee. I look forward to working under your leadership this year.
Hi, I'm Delegate Carrie Delaney. I represent the 9th District, which is parts of Fairfax. And I guess this is my 3rd year on this committee, so I'm excited to be back and learn from everyone and work on some really important issues. And also congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Will Moorfield, representing the 43rd District, the coal fields of Southwest Virginia. I'm a business owner, currently in the coal business. Thank you.
All right. I'm Delegate Buddy Fowler of 59th House District, hence Hanover County, Louisa, a little bit of Henrico. I really enjoy this committee. I've been on it for quite a while, and especially enjoy the professions and occupations and ABC and gaming. You know, that's pretty fun. And I'm trying to see. And then the housing is also very important.
Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, I just wanted to cover everything.
All right, that's good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm Terry Austin, Delegate Austin. I represent the 37th House District, which is Botetourt, Craig, Allegheny, and Rockbridge County. I enjoy this committee, and I enjoy working with Chairman Krizik. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations on your chairmanship appointment. Rob Blocks, I'm the 100th District, which is the Eastern Shore of Virginia and the northern part of Virginia Beach. And this will be my 3rd year of learning this committee. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Bill Wiley, 32nd District, Winchester, Frederick County. Certainly it's a privilege to be on this committee, work in construction, and I enjoy being of service from that end of the game, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations. I am Delegate McLaughlin, and I got to make sure I say that right because if you all know, it was Campbell, and it's pretty recent, so I've been introducing myself improperly a lot since I've been here. But I'm really from the 36th House District. I represent the city of Stanton, city of Waynesboro, part of Augusta County, and part of Rockbridge. I'm just thankful to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on your chairmanship. I am Delegate Lily Franklin. I'm in Southwest Virginia, Montgomery County, parts of Roanoke County. I'm excited to be a part of this committee. We got a lot of new emerging industries and lots of good policy coming out. Housing's also critical for lots of young people, so I'm just excited to get to work.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations on your appointment. My name is Delegate Stacy Carroll. I represent the 64th District. That's parts of Stafford County. My day job, I am a licensed CPA right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia as well as DC. And I've done a lot of audit work in providing financial services to various businesses. So excited about getting to work here on this committee.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Elizabeth Guzman, District 22nd, Central Western Prince William County. Not new to the General Assembly, but new to this committee. Look forward to working with everyone and contribute on housing issues, open government, procurement, because that's what I do on my full-time job. Look forward to working with everyone. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hello, I'm Delegate Carlson. I represent the 54th District, which is Charlottesville and parts of Albemarle. I like doing scratch-off tickets. I never win, so now I'm on this committee. I'm assuming that's all going to change. So yeah, I'm happy to be there, and I'm looking forward to working with you, Chairman Krizek.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Delegate Atusa Reeser. I represent Eastern Loudoun County, which is the Dulles Airport area of Loudoun. I'm a general practice litigator, and I'm very excited to be able to work on all the different issues that come through this committee. Thank you.
I'm Delegate Phil Hernandez, representing Norfolk's 94th District, which is the northern third or so of the city. And I'm new to the committee this year, was very excited. I hear this committee only deals with simple, non-controversial issues, so really looking forward to that.
Good afternoon and congratulations, Mr. Chair. Delegate Adele McClure, I represent Arlington's 2nd House District, which encompasses parts of Arlington County, and I am very glad to be back on the General Laws Committee this year. And my professional background encompasses a lot of different things, including housing, procurement, and a lot of other issues that touch this committee, so very glad to be back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Joshua Cole, representing the 65th House District, the city of Fredericksburg, parts of Spotsylvania County, and parts of Stafford County. And I'm excited to be back on general laws as well. And I'm excited just to see how high I can get up on the dais from being here some more.
Good afternoon. I'm Delegate Luke Torrey, and I represent the 24th House District located in Prince William County, the eastern part of the county. And Chairman Krizek, congratulations, sir. Looking forward to working with you.
Good afternoon. I'm Betsy Carr, representing the 78th District, which is Richmond. Very happy to be on this committee and looking forward to working under the leadership of Chairman Krizek.
Good afternoon. Congratulations again, Mr. Chair. My name is Delegate Holly Siebold. I represent the 12th District, which is the part of Fairfax County, Tysons, Vienna, Merrifield areas. This is my third year on the committee. Excited to be returning, and I'm really honored to be appointed vice chair of this committee. So I thank the chairman for that, and look forward to working with you all this session.
Thank you. That's why I saved you for last. Our vice chair, and there will be times where the vice chair will have to sit in, and so I appreciate, and we're going to be working together quite often on things. And I am Paul Krizek. I don't know how many years I've been on this committee, but it seems like a lifetime. And I've had a few great chairs that I've been under, and I'm looking forward to chairing this committee. And I represent the 16th District in Fairfax County, which includes Mount Vernon, Fort Hunt, Franconia, and so without further ado, let us start this meeting. I just want to say a few things, and then we're going to have a very quick presentation from DPOR, and I appreciate them coming to make that presentation. Many of you don't know the history of this committee, probably, and I did a little research. It goes back, originally it was called the Committee on Propositions and Grievances, and it comes from a historic English common law. The way they used to do it is they used to have these committees formed to consider these grievances and petitions from the people. And it goes back to Elizabethan period of time, and then transferred to the House of Burgesses. And then back in 1677, it became a central feature of the General Assembly. And so it's served for more than 2 centuries as a primary avenue for Virginians to seek legislative remedies. And it's earned a reputation as one of the most influential committees. and it still is today. But I want to tell you, it's been chaired by some amazing figures, such as Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, Richard Henry Lee, Barry Knight, and David Bulova. And I'm telling you, we've had some really good chairmen, and now we've modernized the committee back in the 20th century, and it's now the Committee on General Laws. So I know you've heard P&E Committee is the oldest committee, but I think General Laws really predates it if you go with the old propositions and grievances. We're not going to change the committee name. We're going to keep it at General Laws. But I want to thank everybody and let you know that we're going to continue to maintain the same structure and that we had with under Chairman Bulova with the 5 subcommittees. We'll be announcing the subcommittee chairs at the next meeting on Tuesday. Our meetings will be Tuesdays and Thursdays, half an hour after session ends. And this is quite a privilege to be the chairman, and I do appreciate the speaker for putting that, letting me be in this position to make these difficult decisions. But we will be very collaborative, and I look forward to coordinating the activity of the committee, the agenda, and keeping order and decorum. And I know some of these issues do get hot and heated, and if we have to bring in the state police, they will be here. We've had to do that in the past. Hopefully, we can keep the decorum, and I will kick people out of the room if necessary. I have the chairman of appropriations on this committee, so you know this is an important committee, and he doesn't mess around either. And so if I can't do it, I have him right to back me up. Thank you. So keep this discourse civil. We'll work with the committee across the aisle, and I think we'll get a lot done. Much of the work of the committee will be done through the subcommittees, so I anticipate that the committee meetings will move quickly and through the subcommittee reports. Oftentimes, we have these subcommittees, the reports will come, we'll have a meeting right after subcommittee sometimes. So it's fast and furious, and there's a lot on our docket, and it's kind of a catch-all committee, especially for legal issues that don't go through courts. So with that, I am going to now ask one of the most interesting parts of government, which is the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation. They've got a presentation, and they are going, I think it's going to be, there's something that we can watch online as well. And I think Steve Kirshner, the director, and Jennifer Saya, the Policy and Legislative Affairs Manager, are going to make the presentation. There you are. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you so much for having us today. My name is Jennifer Sy. I'm the Policy and Legislative Affairs Manager at DPOR. And I have my colleague Steve Kirshner here as well. He's the director that oversees our licensing and regulatory operations. And today we're going to be talking to you about what our agency does, how we operate, and just some of the things that we've been up to over the past few years. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about occupational licensing in general. And how do I get this slide? Or can they see? There we go. Occupational licensing approaches vary widely across the country. Some states rely on profession-specific occupational agencies, such as independent boards or boards that are housed within state agencies, while others regulate occupations through broader environmental or public health regulatory bodies that oversee an area of concern, like water quality, and provide occupational licensure as a secondary function. In Virginia, the majority of occupational licensing is administered through boards housed within state agencies, and this model combines policy expertise with administrative expertise and provides consistent, active oversight of regulated professions. Virginia's primary occupational licensing agencies include DPOR, which regulates non-health and non-criminal justice professions, with the exception of accountants and attorneys, and the Department of Health Professions regulates health-related professions, including physicians, nurses, veterinarians, massage therapists, and other licensed medical providers. And then we have the Department of Criminal Justice Services, which regulates criminal justice-related professions, including private investigators, locksmiths, and other types of security services. Within these agencies, occupational licensing programs generally fall into 3 categories. Most operate under policy boards that are empowered to adopt regulations and make case decisions. A smaller number operate under advisory boards, where regulatory authority rests with the agency director, and the board serve in an advisory capacity. and a very limited number of programs are administered directly by the agency without a board, such as the regulation of athlete agents. While this presentation will focus on DPOR, several other Virginia agencies play an important role in labor and occupational regulation. Department of Labor and Industry enforces occupational safety rules, fair pay laws, and youth employment standards. Virginia Works administers the Registered Apprenticeship Program, among other workforce initiatives, and the Virginia Employment Commission administers unemployment insurance. Together with DPOR, these make up the Secretariat of Labor. Additional agencies also intersect with occupational regulation. The State Corporation Commission oversees business entities, public utilities, and insurance, financial institutions, and rate setting for certain professions. The Virginia Department of Health regulates private wells, home care, and hospice services. The Department of Environmental Quality oversees water treatment and sewage regulations. The Department of Housing and Community Development administers the building code and regulates building officials. Department of Education licenses teachers and oversees career and technical education programs, including cosmetology. And the Virginia Community College System also hosts many occupational and workforce training programs. In Virginia, there are generally two types of occupational licenses: practitioner licenses and business or facility licenses. In addition to these categories, there are less common license types, including educator, school, event-specific, and temporary or provisional licenses, which are used when necessary to protect the public. Before discussing these license types in more detail, it'll be helpful to briefly explain the role of DPOR. DPOR's mission is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public by licensing qualified individuals and businesses and enforcing standards of professional conduct for the professions and occupations designated by statute. DPOR is an executive branch agency that oversees 18 regulatory boards and programs. These boards are composed of practitioners and citizen members appointed by the governor and are charged by the General Assembly with regulating specific professions and occupations. DPOR's approximately 200 employees serve more than 320,000 licensed individuals and businesses across several hundred license types, ranging from architects and contractors to cosmetologists and professional wrestlers. DPOR operates under clear statutory limitations. The agency is authorized to regulate only to the extent necessary to protect the public and is entirely funded through user fees rather than the general fund. Licensing at DPOR is based on the principle of minimum competency. So the goal is to ensure that an individual can practice safely and competently without causing harm to the public, not to elevate professional status or restrict competition by preventing qualified newcomers from entering a field. A driver's license is a great example of what we mean by minimum competency. We're not trying to make sure that somebody's perfect at driving or the best driver on the road. I definitely was not when I was 16 years old. But we just want to know that they understand the rules, can see well enough, and know how to safely operate a vehicle without putting other people at risk. Practitioner licenses are governed by policy boards, which establish the minimum standards required to enter a profession. And these standards typically include a combination of education, experience, and examination requirements designed to verify competency. Business and facility licenses are also required for many regulated activities and generally involve registration with the State Corporation Commission, as well as compliance with bonding and annual reporting requirements. DPOR also administers other specialized license types when necessary to protect consumers. For example, cosmetology schools are licensed to prevent fraud and abuse, as illustrated by past cases in which students were defrauded of significant sums of money through unlicensed or improperly operated schools. Finally, enforcement at DPOR is not designed to generate revenue, unlike in some states. The agency follows a compliance-based enforcement philosophy focused on correcting behavior and protecting the public. Any fines collected are deposited into the literary fund, ensuring there's no financial incentive or excessive or punitive enforcement actions. And now I'll turn it over to Steve to discuss in more detail what we've been up to the past few years.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Chair Krizik, for inviting us to present to the committee. So I'll be talking about our major initiatives and now you have a sense of who we are, and we'll be going into what we've been up to. And the first thing we'll start with is universal license recognition. And universal license recognition is essentially a pathway for qualified individuals who hold a license in another state to be able to transfer that license to Virginia in a streamlined fashion. This initiative, some of you may remember, started in 2023. And since that time, we're approaching 1,500 applicants via universal license recognition. So how does it work? How do you get the license? There's two pathways. The first pathway is if you hold a license with a similar scope of practice in another state, and you meet certain other basic requirements. You obtain that license through a training or education program. You passed an exam to get that license, and you don't have prior discipline, you're qualified to enter that pathway. So no examination is necessary. And it's generally, we prioritize these applications, so it's usually a couple days to transfer into the state. The second pathway is if you don't hold a license, and in fact, there is no license for our occupation in that state. So we have a number of professions. Virginia regulates it, many states don't, such as opticians. Only 22 states have an optician license. Wetland delineators, we're one of 2 states that have that license. So if you've been practicing in that profession, but there is no license for you to obtain, if you have 3 years of experience, you can come to Virginia and have automatic exam eligibility. So it's not an automatic license, but it doesn't require you to go back through and do more training. So those are the 2 pathways. We are getting about 500 applicants a year. And again, on the volume that we have, that may sound small compared to 324,000 regulants. But this is an alternative. When we put universal license recognition in place, it didn't do away with the existing methods. It's just an add-on. If for some reason you couldn't make it through the existing methods, now you have an alternative method. So top 5 professions that are coming in through ULR. The top one is tradesmen. By a lot, they're running away with it. That's your electricians, plumbers, HVAC. The second one I'm going to pass for a moment. We'll come back to it. Number 3 is real estate brokers. Number 4 is cosmetologists. And number 5 is the real estate salespersons. All right, some of the surprises along the way. Now we'll hit number 2, which is the alternative on-site sewage system installers, the master license, second highest with over 250 applicants. This certainly took us by surprise. It's kind of an obscure license. So why is this happening? Well, in Virginia, to get that license, it's a master license, you need 18 months of experience, you need certain training courses. Again, the standard in ULR is a license with a similar scope of practice. Well, in North Carolina, they have a license with a similar scope of practice that doesn't have a training requirement and is about a 30-hour course that you can take. So we're finding that individuals are going to North Carolina, they're getting that license, and then transferring it back into Virginia. So our board is looking at that situation. They're looking at it from, are these individuals actually safe to practice? They're also looking at their own training requirement to see maybe ours is too stringent for this. So they are in the midst of looking at this issue to examine it. It's really been the last 12 months that the numbers have exploded. And so stay tuned for that one. Another surprise along the way, again, similar scope of practice. Our branch pilot boards, branch pilots, I think harbor pilots, they're the ones that take the ships from the ocean. As soon as you enter Virginia water, a branch pilot navigates that ship to port. And it's actually our oldest regulated profession in Virginia since 1640s. Their board is older than the United States. The board has existed since 1783. So what their scope of practice is a specific branch. So this section of the James River, this section of the Chesapeake Bay. And what they determined is there's not a similar scope of practice in another state. A California harbor pilot doesn't learn this stretch of the James River, et cetera. So there's not a pathway to the branch pilot through universal license recognition. So those are just a couple of the examples there. Turning now to something that's been a primary focus of us and consumed tens of thousands of hours of our board members' time and our staff time is the Regulatory Reduction Initiative. Day one of the Youngkin administration, Governor Youngkin issued Executive Directive Number 1, which required executive branch agencies to reduce discretionary regulatory requirements by 25%. So how did we go about this? We had to count our regulatory requirements, and it took 2 staff members about 3 months just to categorize our 18,000 requirements, 10,000 of which were discretionary and subject to the executive directive, which eventually was put into an executive order. Once we had categorized them, we looked at what's the board's purpose, what's the statutory requirement, and how they regulate. And I believe Jen had already referenced, you all in regulating professions have put the standard in place. You, in 54.1-100, you've stated the right of an individual to engage in the occupation of their choice is protected by the United States Constitution and the Constitution of Virginia. Any restriction on that right can only be to the extent necessary, or must be to protect the health, safety, welfare of the public, and only to the extent necessary to protect the health, safety, welfare of the public. So those are the 2 guardrails that you've put in place. It needs to protect the health, safety, welfare of the public, but only to the extent necessary. So we put a framework in place for our boards to do line-by-line regulation review, and it asked 3 questions. First question is there a statutory requirement for this rule? And if so, you can't change it, move on to the next one. The next question is, what is the risk to the health, safety, welfare that this rule is trying to mitigate? So let's identify what harm are we trying to stop here? And then the next sub-question to that is this the least restrictive way to mitigate that harm? Do we have 5 rules and it could be 4? Or maybe this is, and if it is the least restrictive way, leave it in place. If there's a way to change it, look at amendments. And then the third question is it administratively necessary? So in a different section of the code, you have authorized boards to make administratively necessary rules. Perfect example of this is physical addresses. We require our licensees to provide us with their physical address. Does that have a clear nexus to health, safety, welfare of the public? Yeah, you can kind of make a tangential argument, but there's a very strong administrative need for us to have the physical addresses, because if we get a complaint filed against one of our regulants, we are required to serve them and provide due process. So we need to know where you are. So that's the administrative necessity for that rule. So our boards went through this analysis. They didn't ask all 3 questions on all 3 rules. Once they got into the pattern of identifying risk and assessing what's the least restrictive way to mitigate that, they moved pretty quickly through these. And by pretty quickly, it took about 3 years to go through this process. We had thousands of hours of committee work, approximately extra 120 meetings per year between all the boards for 2 years. Then we went through the Administrative Process Act general review process, which you can see up on the screen. The standard process would typically take about 840 days. We expedited it and got it down to 721, which is what you see up there. So it's a 2-year process, 3 stages to get through that process. So where did we end up? Where we landed, our agency ended up with a total of a 29% reduction in discretionary requirements. And that's a combination of about 15% straight cuts, removal of requirements, and then another 10% or more of economic credit. So the credit was essentially, if we changed a requirement, you have to have 1,500 hours of training to become a cosmetologist. That's one requirement. If we lower that to 1,000 hours, which the board did, still one requirement. It wouldn't count as a cut. So we got credit for the economic benefit, which for that particular cut was about $3.3 million a year for those cosmetology students going through the process. One thing that I want to point out here, there's a lot of work for our staff. We had 5 staff people that were really doing the elements work on this. Between the 5 of them, they drafted 4,000 pages of supporting documents, not counting the actual text itself. And particularly want to give credit to our regulatory affairs manager. His name is Joseph Howitt, who edited all 4,000 of those pages and did a great job with it. I'm going to skip our IT system for now. We may touch on it in just a moment. A couple of the big wins for our consumers, the cosmetology training reduction I referenced, some reduction in training requirements. The Board for Contractors actually created a residential license with a shorter training time that ended up saving several $1 million a year for their regulants. One of the key things that we've also been focused on is our license processing times. And you may, from time to time, be contacted by a constituent that I submitted an application to DPOR, and it's been a long time. I want to know what's going on with it. Usually in those situations, there's a complicating factor such as a question about their qualifications or criminal history. But for a while there, it was because we had lengthy backlogs, and we have been focused on getting those backlogs down. Every day of a backlog at DPOR pulls $6.4 million out of the economy if you annualize that. So we had 33 days backlog in 2022. That was pulling $200 million of lost earning potential out of the economy from those lost days of work. We got that down to 5. We're up a little bit at 8 right now. But that represents a lot of economic opportunity when folks don't have to wait 2 months to start work. We've been translating documents. We have 20 contractor exams that are translated into Spanish. We have our barbers and cosmetology exams translated into 3 languages, and a few of them have additional languages. And we've been translating our instructions as well. So we have a lot of different languages available for instructions on how do you get these licenses. We recently started remote proctored examinations. So we administer about 60,000 exams, either through vendors or ourselves every year. And our biggest boards, Board for Contractor, Board for Barbers and Cosmetology, and Real Estate Board have started doing remote proctored exams. That is a big benefit for our applicants. We're estimating just between the 3 boards listed here, which is contractors, real estate, and waterworks and wastewater works, our applicants are saving $100,000 a year just on gas money, commuting costs to the testing centers. And that allows them to test at home in a secure environment, but a more comfortable environment. So we're really focusing in on, are you competent in this profession, rather than are you stressed out from your drive-through traffic to the testing site. So a couple other items I just wanted to touch on of what are the big areas that, I'm sorry, I'm going to try to pull the presentation back up here. Big challenges in front of DPOR. We have 2 big challenges in front of us right now. The first is our IT system. This is the current state of our IT system, and I'm not going to describe all the parts of it, but just as a quick summary, we operate out of 3 main systems. That's our licensing system, our enforcement system, and our record management system. And to sustain that, that's our IT ecosystem. Which is convoluted, and most of our systems were designed either in the early 2000s or the 1990s. We're very limited in our online services. We can only do license renewals or address changes. Every new applicant is filling out a paper form and mailing those to DPOR. We do not find that acceptable. We've been trying to get some online services in place and have not been successful as of yet. But we are very much focused on resolving this. We've got a pilot initiative right now. For those of you on the Appropriations Committee, you may see an item related to that as well. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is our funding model. As Jen had mentioned, we're a non-general fund agency, and we raise and lower our fees out of the Callahan Act. That's 54.1-113. And the boards are required to set their fees so that the fee revenue is sufficient but not excessive to cover costs. The challenge with the Callahan Act, if we think about that regulatory review process, the boards operate in a dynamic economic environment. Market changes, real estate agents aren't renewing their licenses, our revenue drops, and you can imagine how that works with the comprehensive spread of licensees we have. It takes 840 days, actually usually much longer for fee increase. It's kind of a bipartisan thing. Governors don't like to approve fee increases. So we typically see about 5 years to raise a fee. And that means that those boards operate at a loss, and some other board has to supplement that board, and then that board runs out of money faster because of that. We've had fee actions that lasted through 4 gubernatorial administrations. And so the Callahan Act really constrains us to be able to respond to the realities of the economic situation that we're in. It also limits our ability to adequately staff ourselves. So most of the time we have to maintain vacancies because we don't have the money to pay staff. So I'm not going to get into it now. We do have a joint proposal from the Department of Health Professions, which is also in the Callahan Act, and DPOR, that is a solution to resolve that specific issue of boards operating at losses for extended periods of time. Regardless of whether it's DPOR and DHP's proposal or a different proposal, the structural process problems within the Callahan Act will ultimately require a legislative solution to it. So, Chairman Creasy, thank you again for this opportunity to present. Any questions, we're happy to take.
Yeah, thank you, Director. Do we have any questions? I see Delegate Simon.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. 2 quick questions. A question and a comment. I'll start with a comment. I want to thank you guys for your good work on the ear piercing license. I know we had you guys, I know we're going through all this deregulation piece of it. We actually had to create a new license category, and that went very smoothly for our friends at studs.com. So thank you for that. My first chance to say that in the 2026 session. And I guess the other question I have is, with all this, the deregulation, I understand we saw a slide about the monetary savings, particularly with the cosmetology stuff. But I wonder about, are we losing anything as far as the effect goes? Is there any way to sort of manage the increase in the number of bad haircuts that are coming out as a result of cutting the number of training hours in cosmetology?
Yes.
And maybe I'm asking the wrong person. I'm not sure.
Mr. Chair, I admit to my own deficiencies and knowledge of barbershop operations. But what I can speak to how the board went around about that change. And the board actually created a regulatory advisory panel, brought in experts from across the industry, actually across the country, to participate in that. One of the key features that I think brought a lot of comfort to the board when they made that change was in Virginia, we have vocational school cosmetology programs that have been in existence from the late 1970s. We've had 40 to 50,000 students that have gone through those programs over the last 50 years. And those programs historically have operated anywhere between 1,000 hours to 500 hours. And for the last about decade, they've been at 840 hours. We've not seen any safety issues from the graduates of those programs, so a big persuasive factor was the public schools are doing it in 840 hours. Why are we requiring 1,500 hours?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the very serious answer to that maybe not so serious question. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Delegate Simon. Delegate McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for the presentation. I don't think it was mentioned, but can you just talk about some of the pathways that we have in Virginia for veterans who are transitioning, service members who are working to move into our workforce to civilian careers, please?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, very excited to answer that question. We have some news to share about that. So there is a statute in Virginia, it's 54.1-118, that governs, it essentially says that equivalent military experience will be accepted by the regulatory boards in Virginia. So we have a few boards that actually have regulatory pathways to count that experience. The Board for Barbers and Cosmetology is a prime example of that, where their regulations say this is how we credit that experience. Some other boards have guidance or standard operating procedures to make those equivalencies. We also have a separate provision in 54.1 that creates an expedited license for military spouses and spouses of the recently retired military, both in Virginia and our neighboring states in the District of Columbia. And we have on our website that expedited licensing process. There's some sort of generous provisions around what qualifies as equivalent, as well as we put any funding. There's some DoD funding resources available in those situations, so we have links to that as well. And recently, and by recently I mean earlier this week, we have started collaborating with the Department of Veterans Services, and we are going to take a comprehensive agency-wide approach to developing standard pathways and regulatory pathways in all of our boards to ensure that there's very clear easily available instructions for our service members on what it looks like to qualify for our licenses.
That reminds me, my father was a barber in the Air Force, and he only knew how to cut hair one way, short. Any other questions from the committee? Delegate Moorfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I carried the universal licensure legislation, and I'm curious, are you seeing the majority of these applications coming from specific states, or is it just broadly across the country, or?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I think you may have me on that one. I have not looked at the specific origins of a lot of those. We know for that one particular, the master alternative on-site, that's almost primarily only coming from North Carolina. It's pretty broad spread. I have sort of seen it. I haven't categorized it. I've seen it. It seems pretty broad, but I don't have the data. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Moorfield. Thank you. Good. That was a good bill. So do we have any other further questions? Any comments? Seeing none, I thank you very much for the presentation and letting all of my, especially my new colleagues know, the freshmen in the committee, this is a good, you want to go to this agency before you maybe bring forward a bill that has something to do with any of these many licenses. And so I appreciate you guys coming at short notice and doing a great job. And I wanted to mention that this is attached, the slide presentation was attached to your patron notification along with the agenda, and you can also get it on LIS for the public, and it's attached to the committee agenda on the LIS for general laws. So without any further discussion or comments, I move, do we have a motion to adjourn? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, we are now